And welcome back. This is season two. I am the behavioral health queen. And yes, healing while leading is exceptionally important. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this podcast is definitely dedicated to that. This is going to be the first episode, and it's inflammation, burnout, and the cost of success. So, hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Healing While Leading. A podcast is dedicated to unlearning toxic ambitions and embracing healing centered success. So, join me. I am your host, Dr. Teranda Knight. I am a doctor of behavioral health. I am a wife, a mother, a scholar, a survivor, and the founder of Virtually Renowned Consulting Access LLC. And today, I want to start with a deeply personal truth. And yes, the weakest link, how the information reveals our limits, is it. I want to start with that because it's the foundation. It's the foundation of many of our health ailments that we have, but we don't understand what drives or builds the inflammation. So, inflammation chooses its battlefields. For me, it was my reproductive system, my sinuses, and my respiratory system, and weak spots that I never saw coming until they became the front line of war I didn't ask to fight. And many of us can say that in with our health that we didn't ask to be sick, all right? It's just something that literally happened as a result of some behavior that we had, whether it was a thought that we internalized, a reaction or action to something internally or externally. While my inflammation manifested itself in those areas, for others, it could be the heart, brain, a limb, even cancer. Inflammation doesn't care about your goals, your titles, your grind. It's like human nature attacking the moment you're weakest. And let's be honest, how many of us are running on empty pretending that we are okay? It's not just about biology. This is about behavioral health. And it's about what happens when the systems we live and work in reward burnout more than balance. That's how you get pushed to the side when you're no longer able to perform at that level you were once at. And when they question your ability of whether or not you can, it also becomes an issue. But that means that you're accepting the facts of life that it's disabling, it's changing the person's life, right? So here's my story, the cost of non traditional excellence. When I chose an online path to learn, or basically to earn my master's and doctorate, I wasn't taking a shortcut, I was surviving. And when I say that because back when I did online education, it was very new. And most people, it was like telehealth when COVID came. We don't want it, we don't care about it, it's not viable, it doesn't bring the same level of quality as face to face, all those factors. Okay. And I think that we fail to realize that face to face experiences is on the person experience. It's different for everybody. Therefore, with that said, some people may have already felt that going and sitting in a class was inadequate anyways, right? But they just didn't have another option. So it wasn't the best thing ever to have face to face classes for a lot of people. And many people feared it because they weren't technology savvy, and neither was I at that time. But I've always challenged myself to learn something new or do something different, right? So, yeah, I was surviving. I would work full time. I had two jobs, was raising a family. I was sacrificing sleep to basically bring progress. But the pressure came with a price. My body started to crash. And as they like to say now, crash out. And it did it to an extreme because I wasn't willing to acknowledge that I was burnt out because I was loving what I was doing. Even with all the stress and the discord sometimes that came with advocating for patients, or even just having to advocate for processes being looked at differently. Right? All those things, though, build or increase our cortisol levels. And our cortisol levels, once they get high, they ravage our immune system. And for me, it led to multiple surgeries, it led to miscarriages, it led to preemie baby, it led to other losses. And the most sobering moment, was my youngest when she was born at 23 weeks. It was the most humbling circumstance in life. It not only once again showed me the disconnect in healthcare, where all the flaws were, but I once again ignored them and kept pushing forward. When COVID came, it was unbeknownst to me. I was focused on my health, having surgery. I was told that I would feel better after about a week or two of having surgery. But it was unexpected that COVID came. People was dying. There was no vaccination, and the world of healthcare was shut down and changed forever. And I was caught in that with my health. With that came isolation, medical neglect, steroid treatments that did more harm than good because when I couldn't receive the treatment that I was told I would need after the surgery, now I had to receive some form of medication or something to help hold me until I was able to be seen, which was like 2 months after my surgery, that I had to go through this turmoil with my health when I was told I would feel better. So when I say keep pushing, always keep pushing, because I was told success requires sacrifice. And when I look back over my life, that's all I've done is sacrificed. I've had small wins and what I've considered small rewards because I know my potential brings so much more than what I've seen. And I know that it's going to bring more in my future. But it's just having that moment when you're knocked down. Sometimes you can lose sight if you don't really know who you are, your capabilities. But I've always stayed rooted in knowing who I was and my capabilities, right? And even when I couldn't get out of the bed or I was confused or dizzy, just having the amount of support that I did from my higher education leaders when I was in school at that time, getting my doctorate was monumental in my success. Where jobs gave up on me, they didn't. And I was afforded the opportunity to redo assignments and not use the traditional way of communicating to get things done. And it was accepted and I was successful. It wasn't just shut down and I was told, oh, you cannot do this. You won't be successful doing it, and never given a chance because they didn't want to accept the fact that I could. They accepted the fact that I could and stood behind me. So, why does virtually renowned consulting access exist? It exists because eventually I realized I wasn't the only silently struggling student, faculty, leader, or professional. So many of us are breaking down quietly, ashamed to get help, or even not even knowing how to assess help. Many of us go and seek help and is turned away or told this isn't an option or that isn't an option, and is left to feel helpless and hopeless in our experience. As a part of Mental Health Awareness Month, I want all of you, as whatever level you see yourself as leadership, because even a student is a leader, I want you to realize that behavioral health is your health. And it's your health because identifying what behaviors you had that led to your health concern is where you can start. And then when you take the medications or treatments or nutrition or dietitianal changes, it can be more effective for you. My doctoral research confirmed that at the time between 2021 and 2022, accommodations in higher education for mental health and behavioral health was almost non existent. There were universities and colleges that still did not offer mental health and behavioral health care to their student population. And why was that important? It was important because students have mental health and health care and substance use related concerns before even coming to get their education. It is assumed they're healthy when they are accepted at a college. Even when they even play sports, it is assumed that they are just healthy and they would never have these experiences or need these level of services. And so they're offered off campus somewhere in the community. And that's not viable because if that student doesn't have good transportation or there's not good transportation where they're going to school, that's reliable to get them to their appointments on time and things like that, then we're hurting them more than we're helping them. And we're not helping them be successful in their academics because their health is the most important part to their success in their academics. So I built something different, a place where healing is a part of process, where we can take quality tools and evaluate processes to reduce waste, not just money wise, but waste in systems that impact people's health. A place where we can create technology based factors to identify when students are struggling and even alleviate some of the stress on faculty of trying to keep up with students when they have so many. Technology can help with that in ways that we have not explored. Apps are good, but we have to be able to create it in a way that helps the system, that integrates into the system. So at Virtually Renowned, I don't just coach, I care. I don't just consult. I love to transform people's lives. I love to teach people. I love to teach people to work hard, stay peaceful, but I also like to educate them as well. As an adjunct professor of psychology for 10 years, I dedicated my life to my students becoming knowledgeable, not just getting the work done, but learning the work. If it required them to do something more than once, they were afforded the opportunity to do so because that's what learning is about. Not everybody gets it the first time, not everybody learns it from a book. Some people need examples. Some people need to be able to do something more than once to get it. Repetition is what research supports, and that's what I've always given. Surveys. Surveys were good at the end of the course, but it never helped my students during the course. So I always afforded them the opportunity to send me an email, a text message, or call me and tell me where they were struggling at so that I could help them be successful. Finally, here's a call to all my wounded achievers. Maybe you're listening right now and your body's been whispering that something's wrong. Maybe your peace feels impossible, or maybe you're just normalized the pain in the mind or normalized it in the name of progress. And know that this podcast is for you. So, season two is going to be exceptionally dynamic from stories from alumni, graduated students, to actual current students, to people in leadership that can share their stories. I'll explore some topics from trauma informed leadership, accessible wellness, invisible disabilities, and how to truly thrive, not just survive, in a high performance space. We give a lot to licenses and certifications, but in actuality, they really don't mean anything because of the fact that people go to school and get the education in those areas. They possess that same level of knowledge. And just because you can pass a test doesn't make you a good professional. And I've seen that in healthcare firsthand, whether it be behavioral healthcare or healthcare with specialists or primary care providers. Having that license doesn't make them better or able to provide you with better care. It's their compassion, it's their love for the field, it's the people that don't get into it for the money, but because they genuinely care about people's lives. And you'll know because when you work with them, they would never play games with the patient's life. They will always value the opportunity to learn something new and explore something different. You deserve success without self destruction. You deserve systems that support your whole self, and I'm here to help you build the future. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Follow me on my platforms TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And here on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share. And remember, never feed the beast, work hard, and stay peaceful. This is healing while leading. I'm Dr. Teranda Knight, and until next time, be well.